system CPU is maxing out. How are we this morning, Friday the 13th? Late for a very important date. How are we? Theatre of the Fourth Dimension. Michael Allen Productions. Michael Allen looking a bit shaggy this morning. As you would all know, those of you who are independent artists who work independently and often from your home environment, geez, some days other life gets in the way of work and you're running a bit behind. So I'm a bit behind today. What was I going to talk about today? What I was going to talk about today, join me, hashtag web theatre, blah blah blah. I'll get it up now so I can pop that out too. So I'm so far behind I haven't even set up the stream yet. Pop that out. Good. And now I go to there. So if you want to talk to me about anything to do with web-based theatre or theatre interacting and engaging with the internet and social media platforms, if you want to talk about narrative, if you want to talk about my PhD, do all of that stuff. Search that hashtag. So good. Search the hashtag. There we go. Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? Today, I was going to talk to you a little bit about how we can think about story, writing story and character. Using the interface of online streaming and social media platforms and all that sort of stuff. I've spoken at length ad nauseam about the shifting frame of performing online. Specifically the shifting frame. Oh God, sorry. Still haven't got a music license where I can select decent music. Ah, dear me. So I was going to talk to you about how to write story. There's a couple of different ways that we think about writing story. For web-based stuff, and it's worth contemplating the different ways that the story and narrative unfold. I'm not talking specifically about theatre here at the moment, but it's worth considering these new storytelling types and ways that are specifically determined by So we can think about, let's start. So there's the story that I'm telling you now, right? It's a very first person objective type of thing. I use the platforms to present a version of myself, to present a mask. Yes, I'm me, I mean this is me, but nonetheless you're seeing me through how I'm projecting myself and how I create my identity through Michael Allen Productions, through the way I am, the images that are in the background, through the information that's at the bottom of the screen, the Twitter accounts that I use, the way that I craft my biographies across all these platforms. These are different ways that I present a character to you. However you look at me, I am the character of me. We can get into conversations about what mood are you in? Angry, bright, calm? Let's do calm. I just want to play it as it is a library. I wonder if I can do that. If I shut you up. You're annoying. So even everything I'm doing now, I mean, this is just me rambling, but you're still processing and through all the ways that I'm talking, the imagery that I use, right? And actors can think of it like that, because that's what an actor would do when they're maybe thinking about character. Let's just get rid of it all together, shall we? Pain in the ass. Shut some things down. Don't need you. Don't need you. Incidentally, for those of you who are interested, I am about almost halfway through the entire thesis now. A few months left to go. Not as many as I'd hoped. So I'm under the pump a little bit. But, you know, nothing unusual about that. Alright, so I've got rid of basically everything, apart from the bare minimum. Now, where was I? So, we had actors. Actors did basic character development work, and from that character development work, that's better. We created social media profiles that they could use to explore their characters. So if they had, like say, if they had an Instagram account, how would, what sort of photos would they take? What sort of things would they be interested in? Who would they follow? What would they like? And likewise with Twitter, they did that as well. We found that Instagram and Twitter were, one's visual and one's more verbal. And so then some characters decided that one form was better than the others. Most of them, I think, tended towards visual imagery of Instagram. We borrowed from Gable's concept, who Gable wrote Twitter plays, probably still does write Twitter plays. And there's a few examples of Twitter plays around the place where a single author controls the multiple accounts and identities and sort of types character development through them across these multiple facades. So it's not an unfamiliar thing, but instead of one author determining that universe, we left it a bit more improvisation, and we gave that authority to the actors to explore. The other thing was that we tried to find characters that were somewhat relatable. Now, in Nikki's case, who was a little bit like me, not digital natives. So she created a character who was, everyone did really. They created characters that were just left of centre of them. So things that they could reasonably imagine and think, but a little bit more distant. So Nikki is a middle-aged mum with a job. We changed her young kids. We changed it slightly. So middle-aged, got rid of the kids. We started with kids, we got rid of the kids. Then yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, I just read that. Yeah, thank you. That's a great comment. So in her scenario, she constructed the character of Jenna. Jenna was a middle-aged housewife, recently divorced from her husband, suffered the quiet rage of a domestic housewife, and was sort of reimagining herself in this online world, which was a great vehicle because it gave Nikki the legitimacy to genuinely explore through this avatar the internet and how people talk and all the rest of it. It was really useful. This process unpacked a lot of things for a lot of actors. Anyway, that's another day. Talking about storytelling. So we're using the social media platforms to, at this stage, construct a character and sort of a little bit of storytelling. So we got those characters to improvise with each other online using the social media platforms. So Jenna would talk to Sam and Jenna would talk to Lockie, and we encouraged our friends and family to sort of follow us along and sort of try and generate a little bit of we thought of hashtags, and we posted and we liked, and we those characters started to spread their reach through friends and family and other networks to try and generate a bit of a buzz or a following. Now, that didn't really work. Did it work? It's hard to say. Jazz kept coming into rehearsal saying, everyone's asking me how's it going, what are you doing with the online stuff? So it's like everyone knew about it, but no one was actually engaging with me or the project much, if anything. What engagement we did get was, we also did things like we Twitch streamed sessions together. They came out of our workshop process where we copied what other people do in live streaming and just sitting around cooking, doing things, and we tried to replicate that with these characters in this environment. How did that work? We learnt some lessons about language and communication that way too, I tell you. So that's using the platform to tell story, using it to write the narrative. It becomes the page of the book. It becomes the tape in the video. It becomes the artifact. Yeah. Page of the book works in a Backtinian sense. Right. Then now that's the unique bit. Sophie Smith from the Pervasive Theatre Project in Bristol. Fucking love. Check out the Pervasive Media Studio. Pervasive, put my teeth back in. Pervasive Media Studio in Bristol, UK. Phenomenal little organisation who are doing a lot of work around maybe more practice-led research in this area. But the project that was particularly good one. Anyway, but up until the point of doing this kind of narrative story, trying to take it a little bit further. Anyway, the other versions of web-based theatre narrative telling, storytelling, are to write on top of it. So I think that's probably more your Gable example, where there was one author with multiple characters and they were sort of writing on top of it. If that's how I imagine the imagery. This is a Sophie Smith metaphor, that people are writing on top of the web and on top of these internet devices, and I imagine that's what she meant with the Gable example. Excuse I. Dusty in my studio today. The other version is to have it written on top of the work. Examples of that would be, have you ever watched Jane the Virgin? Jane the Virgin, awesome series, love it. All those actors, those writers, concept, brilliant. But the characters in that show communicate and talk. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you very much. That's funny. If you want to know, get online and check it out. Seriously. Yeah, so those characters communicated a lot through text messages and stuff, and often you would see in a shot the little, kind of like what's going on here, it would pop up with a message from someone, and that message would then be part of the story. So that's the web being written on top of the work, on the top of the project of the narrative and the story. And that's generally how, or the other version, and it's not really a storytelling version, but the other version is using it as a conduit, a delivery system, where you have your traditional, conventional catch and release. You have your traditional catch and release model where, Royal Shakespeare Company catches, records a show, and then rebroadcasts that out for rent, for hire, to a stranger, to a cinema, that kind of thing. So there are your 3 or 4 different ways that you can think of it. I'm going to write this down maybe and post something later to back it up that you can look at a bit more visually. But you've got internet, web, life, and the as a device, as a theatrical device written on top of an existing genre or process. Yeah. You've got the version where the theatrical narrative process is written on top. So the first version is your Jane the Virgin. The second version is your Jeremy Gable, where it's written on top of it. So he's writing all the narrative and using that as the platform to distribute. It's much more of a literary, probably, concept, especially using Twitter, which is all words and characters. Then you've got what we did. Then you've got your traditional catch and release and use it as a delivery model. And then you've got what we did, which was try to tell story across the narrative, using the narrative. The narrative was the story. Through the narrative was the story. The narrative was the experience of online. That is the story, and you've got to guide that experience online. It's like going through a horror train at the fair, navigating that experience through the horror and the scares and the boo moments. But we're using the web and the interfaces and the images and the green screen and that all present and tell the story. That's the unique part. So, thanks for joining me. Call of the Void. Didn't think I was going to have much for you this week because I was winging it quite a lot. Have I even really gone at half an hour? Look, have you got any questions? One question here. How do you control it, what the audience sees? Yeah, well, that's the thing with telling the story in this way, is that in your first two versions, there's it's all in the first, in the other versions is all presentation of the project, presentation of the story, the telescript of Jane the Virgin. That's the story. The Jeremy Gable version is like I'm writing the story and I've got my script notes and all the rest of it, and I present it. In this version, where the audience is going through it as they're experiencing the story by engaging with the story. Does that make sense? So when a person such as yourself jumps online and tweets me, right, you are engaging in the story, and by engaging in the story, you've now directed the story. I'm now talking about it. Does that make sense? So you now become part of that story. So I have to find a way. Let's say I've got a theme and I want to get to at the end. I want to talk about this thing. It's like a conversation or a tutorial almost. So I've taken that on board, and that's navigated and steered the story in a certain way because you've engaged with it. Now I'm engaging with you back through the camera and all the software and the hardware and all the rest of it back with you. So now we're having an exchange and a dialogue that's mediated through these things, right? And yet I'm still going to try and find a way to get back to the overall arc of my story and give you a dramatic moment at the end. Well, that's what it would be if there were characters. Does that make sense? So that's where, as a writer and as a performer, you have to work very differently. It's no longer just you stand and deliver. It is stand and engage and deliver. And so what we did with Lunch at Jenna is a little bit of all of those things mixed together. Yeah, yeah. It's a little bit of all of those things mixed together. But the specific difference is that, yes, we did have a story that we wanted to tell, and that had a journey, and it had moments where characters do things and like a normal story. We were layering it on top of the story, so there was that's in terms of there was pre-recorded stuff where characters who are apparently live, especially in the third episode, characters who are apparently live are actually pre-recorded and embedded in, and they operated like any other cue. Then we had, so it was layering on top. Then we had the web layered onto the story. Then we layered onto the story because we navigated where it was going to go. We set up preconceived pre-circumstances. We had a script, we had a journey, and so that worked that way. But then we had this other version, this multi-faceted version, where we had a live audience talking to the characters, and we had an online audience talking to the characters, and we had an online audience and the live audience talking to themselves, independent of the characters. Massaging all of that, the actors and the performers and the production doesn't have complete control over the presentation, because you're playing with an actor who is the audience and the interface, who doesn't know the script and doesn't know the words and doesn't know what they're meant to do. So you're playing with a character. That's how you have to think about it that's how we had to think. Well, I had to think about it when I was writing this. That I am writing characters that interact with each other, and one of those characters is the unseen mass audience who operate independently. And I don't know, and I know what I want that audience to experience as a director and a writer and creator of something. But how getting them to that experience, like in a character arc, is not a normal director process, because they're a character that you've never played with before. Yeah. They don't know what's expected of them, or how to do it. And that's where it becomes a very unique process. And I think that, for me, that understanding that is the key to be able to make something viscerally live, not broadcast live, not imprinted onto or imprinting itself onto something else. One layer. It is the thing. They're integrated. So that was really good for me, because I got some ideas out. Thank you for asking that question. That's why I ask you guys to join me, because you guys ask me questions about the stuff that's all in my head. And when it comes to me to try and explain and answer the question, it forces me to think in ways that help communicate that. So thank you for asking me great questions. It's really helping me, and I hope it's really helping you understand this stuff. Go to my Patreon page, MAPT4D on Patreon. I think it's being scrolled down the bottom there somewhere. Tweet me, go to michaelallenproductions.com. I do actually want to be really much more creative than I am being, like, with creative projects. I've got a ton of ideas that I really want to start exploring. I want to collaborate, and I want to meet up with different people who represent different projects. And I've got a few irons in the fire at the moment that I'm trying to sort of... I'm landing an iron in the fire? I don't know. Fire's probably not a good analogy in Australia here at the moment, but anyway, but the reason I'm not I'm not doing as much at the moment is because I'm just under the pump with this thesis. I've got to get it done, and I've got to get it done soon. So I am being, as much as I want to just sit and do sessions where I'm playing and writing and doing more stuff on all these projects, I've got to get this thing done. I've got to get it out of my head. So today's been really good, again, for helping me do that. That's the beauty of this, is that there is a genuine engagement with you guys, that is helping me understand this stuff, which in turn helps me to explain it, which in turn helps us to make something more refined and better. And that's this. In that sense, you guys are part of the creative development process, and that's this democratization of web-based theatre, web theatre. Yeah, is that this is an online theatre company. That being said, we all are online as part of this theatre company. You are as much a part of the creative development as I am. It's this engagement. It's brilliant. It's awesome. So many different ways to apply it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, well, there's quite a few social advocacy plays and projects I'm looking into. Love to do something about... I just think there's great opportunities to talk about web-based life in a web-based format. For example, sort of Boal type stuff, maybe about social issues or education packages or training. Great commercial aspects. Had a great idea for a product launch for a car the other day. Awesome. Anyway, so many ideas. Yeah, so many different ways to apply it. But I'm going to love you and leave you there, because I'm off to the next thing today. I'm running behind already, as you already know. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you for coming. I will see you in 2 weeks. What is the date? In 2 weeks. We survived Friday the 13th, people. Not that I believe in any of that shit anyway, but... 13th, 20th, Friday, the 27th of March, 2020, episode 12. Okay, Friday, 27th of March, at 9:30 a.m. See you there. Thanks for joining me. Thank you very much for the questions. Look forward to speaking to you soon. Okay, I'll put some music on for the play out. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. See you later, guys. Next time.